So this is your opportunity right here. We're going to take some time. We actually are running a little early, so we got just a little bit of time. So let's get all your guys' questions, concerns answered today. You got myself and the whole crew right here, okay? So, who wants to ask the first question? We're just going to pass the mic around. Anybody? Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Come on.
Anything?
Come on.
I'm trying to think of a question.
I know y'all want to know something.
Grass-fed BJJ.
Come
You
on.
got a question, brother. Ask
Don't
it.
make us call you out.
We're gonna call y'all
Start
out.
us out, Cody.
On an average, how many days a week do you guys actually work out?
Good question.
Anybody?
Sorry.
Average probably,
Yeah.
about 6 days a week, but what I've been doing is I've been running every day, except for the weekends. I don't do a lot of cardio, but I like to run just to do my mindset. That's when I listen to my podcast, so I run like 1.5 miles, 2 miles every single day, low intensity after I train, but I train about 6 days a week. I do like an 8-day rotational split, in which in 8 days I have 2 off days, but I train every day.
So I train about 5 days a week. I work full time and I have 2 kids. And my husband's a baseball coach, so that's my time. Like work on mindset, like what Robert said, for his cardio. But mine's in the gym. I put on my podcast, and that's my time in the gym is about 30 to 35 minutes, 5 days a week. That's it.
So I usually train about 5 to 6 days a week. Obviously, it depends on the intensity. If I'm going a lot more intense, then I may do 4, because remember, when you're resting, you're recovering, and that's when you're actually growing. And when your cortisol is a little bit lower, you usually recover a lot better. So I just listen to my body. If I'm feeling extremely fatigued and having trouble sleeping, obviously I need to back off. It also depends if it's pre-contest. I was doing 6 days a week. This past week it was only twice, because you got to know when to tone it back a little bit. Just got done with the show, but you got to listen to your body. So.
I'm currently lifting full body 3 days a week, and then I'll do like 30 to 45 minute runs on the alternating days. Total throughout a week, I'll train 6 days a week.
So I train Monday through Friday, bodybuilding type style, with taking the weekends off. And typically my workouts are kind of pretty scheduled from 5 to 6:30. Also, if any of you are ever in San Marcos, in the Central Texas area, and you want to come train with me, you're more than welcome to come train with me at my gym, Texas Health and Rock Club, 5 to 6:30. I'm there Monday through Friday. PM. Yes. I definitely don't wake. I definitely don't wake up that early. I'm not Robert or Danny over here. So yeah, 5 p.m. 6:30. Come train with me.
And he'll take you to barbecue.
Sure. Yes. I'll wine and dine.
He has his own plate at this barbecue place there. I train 5 days a week and play volleyball in the sand here in Dallas about twice a week, competitively.
I wake up at 4 o'clock every day. I'm one of those people that you're like, some people actually wake up this early to work out, but I do. That's the only time that I can actually get it in. I train probably 5 to 6 days a week, and I tend to do like a heavier split with a hypertrophy split, so.
Yeah, I lift 4 days a week, and I train jiu-jitsu 4 days a week, and I walk pretty much every day. So.
All right. Anybody else got a question?
Grass-fed.
How many hours do you work out?
How many hours?
Yeah.
We'll go back down the line. How long do you work out? Like with intensity?
My lifting workouts are probably like an hour and 15 to an hour and 30 minutes when I'm by myself. When I'm with Ben, it may be a little bit longer. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Mine are typically like 50 to 70 minutes, and then I also try to incorporate a lot of walking, just like natural energy expenditure, which it's not natural if you just go for walks all the time, but just to keep my normal energy up.
I have an hour with a trainer 5 days a week, so And they're actually at Telos, like off the Dallas North Tollway. They do orthokinetics, they do MAT, ART, RTS, all that kind of stuff. So very similar to what Danny Vega and Ben are working on, like with intention and all that kind of stuff. So really cool stuff.
Sweet. Workouts, again, typically 90 minutes a session.
Yeah, for lifting, it's usually an hour to an hour 20 minutes, and then the runs like 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes a bit longer if I feel good.
Usually 45 to 60 minutes for my lifts, and then heavier compound movements or leg day, maybe an hour and a half for longer rest periods. And recently I started hiking for an hour, just being out in nature. It's really good for to really connect mentally. So.
As I said before, I have a full-time job, so my workouts are 35 to 40 minutes, 40 max, because I just work out on my lunch break.
Normally about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes, unless I'm working out with Danny, and then we talk too much.
Yeah, and for myself, same type of deal, hour and 15, 5 days a week. That's what I do. I'm really big about balance. I'm juggling a lot of stuff, so I just try to fit that in and make sure it's quality. You know. What else we got?
So I think one of the things we picked up on today, just from like everybody speaking, is like everybody does keto for a reason, or keto carnivore, and a lot of people come to space. There's a lot of different things, whether it's lose weight, they want to look shredded, whether it's health benefits. Like there are a lot of voices in the keto community right now. Like, what advice would you give somebody? Because what works for Robert isn't what necessarily works for Vinny. Like it's different for me. Like, what would be the best advice you would give somebody in finding what works for them?
So what I've found is like it's good that we have such different, strategies, because then you can look at the whole and see, okay, what resonates well with me. But there's a point, and it's kind of hard to do now with social media and the internet, because you can literally just be subjected by waves of information. But I get a lot of benefit from intentionally not consuming any content. Like I put my blinders on and don't pay attention to anybody. I just, dive deep into what I can feel, what I can experiment on, and then I just am intentional about what my body is telling me, and I just dive into that. And then when I have that information, then I can open my eyes to what's around me, what other people are doing, and then see, okay, put some pieces together. This is probably why I'm feeling that. But having that, defined period where you're not listening to anybody else is key.
What I would follow up with that as other people answer this is that, like, probably 90+% of people who are coming over aren't disengaged from the information, from the content, and stuff like that. So particularly, that's kind of the question is like, with the amount of information, the amount of quote-unquote influences, the amount of content, programming, like, how do you navigate?
There you go.
I'm really passionate about this. I think it's important to understand where you are right now, where they are, and where they've come from. So Danny didn't get jacked overnight, and he hasn't been doing keto his whole life. So understanding that just doing keto for 2 years and doing bodybuilding, you're not going to look like Danny. Same thing for me, looking at other people who have competed or lifted weights for a long time. When I was losing weight and that was the goal, I gravitated towards people who were on the same journey, but also who have been through that and have had success with the weight loss. And then realizing that if your goal is to build muscle and like that is your set goal, then find those people who know what they're talking about and then follow them. So just kind of knowing where you are in your journey.
No, I also say don't be scared to try. I mean, let's take keto out of it, okay? Even before that, there were so many different ways to go with bodybuilding, lose weight, and you just had to test it out and listen to your body and figure out what is your best avenue. So now you got keto in this spectrum, and there's so many different ways. Like I do 3 days a week carnivore, and the other days I do keto. I just started doing that because before I was like, I don't know if I can do the carnivore thing, but I opened myself up and said, you know what, let's do it. And now I absolutely love doing those 3 days a week. It's great. So I think, just go ahead and be open-minded, but listen to your body too. It's going to tell you. Your body's really intelligent. So it's going to tell you if it's working for you or not. So I would just say just be open and listen and try new things out.
When it's about a lifestyle versus a diet, like when you're not like approaching it as like what's the next 6 to 12 weeks and I need to lose X pounds, and it's really about a lifestyle, then it's about compliance. Like what are you going to do, sustainably for the rest of your life? And so it's not about like, if something doesn't resonate well with you, then you can't do that. Like even though it works for Danny or it works for Robert or whoever, it's important that we don't beat each other up in the community. Like, because this person's having Splenda and oh my God, and like, this person's plant-based and you jerk, and like whatever it is, like whatever works for that person, like they're on a journey, support them. And the thing I like about like Robert and Danny and some of these guys, I really, everyone up here, like they're very open-minded. So, science is about like an open-minded pursuit. It's not about like if someone says it's a scientific fact or it's scientifically proven, that's marketing. That is not in any study. Like any study ends with, with these certain people and this certain study and these parameters, we saw this on average with these statistics. There's no proof. There's no study with like 7.5 billion people. Like we're all different. So, when people are throwing around those words, just remember that. Like, because, Danny and Robert and these guys, like they do the podcast and they're constantly learning and having people on that like refute some of their ideas. Like we've had discussions where we have very different ideas and he's changed some of his philosophies. So people evolve over time, and hopefully if you're open-minded and you are scientific, then you do evolve.
With that, in this community, you find a lot of people who speak very authoritatively about their approach, and sometimes you're listening to this and you have maybe 5 different experts with 5 conflicting opinions, and each of them is preaching it like it's the gospel. But then you have to step back and ask yourself, like, who are they speaking to? With what goal are they, like, what's the intended goal of what they're saying? Is this about longevity? So then, if you have somebody saying restrict protein and they're talking about IGF-1 and mTOR and stuff, you might want to say, where are they coming from? And something that me and Chris Bell say sometimes, which is super superficial, but we're like, do I want to look like that guy? But I mean, you don't always want to take that as the test, but like we laugh about that sometimes because we're like, yeah, this guy said a bunch of great things about this, but I don't really buy into that. Like, I don't want to be that guy. So sometimes you can measure the advice against who their intended audience is, and I think there's nothing wrong with like the whole going into this obsessive period of research. But at some point, I think if you step back and then you ask yourself, what are the next 2 to 3 easiest things I can possibly do? Because if you do the all in or screw it mentality, like you're always going to be like yo-yoing all the time. But
you'll never get out of diet mentality that way.
Yeah.
So it's got to be true lifestyle change, and it's got to be easy, sustainable, and something that you can do forever. I could never give up vegetables forever. I will never do carnivore forever. That's just me.
So I think one of the biggest things that he touched on this is just try new things. And I always tell people, like a lot of my clients, I don't have them do keto because if they're not going to be strict and they're eating a ton of fat and they're eating a ton of carbs and they're binge eating and they have poor habits, is that going to be best for them? Probably not. If they want to get big as fast as possible, is that going to be the best option? No. So that's a reason I do come off keto certain amounts of times, and on social media I'll tell people I'm doing this because as a trainer, the more tools I have in my arsenal, keto being one of them, then it allows me to help a larger population. Also, secondly, they'll touch on this, keeping it simple and tracking what you're doing. If you're changing a million variables and just say, oh, I just do macros, that may work for you longer term after you have your body figured out. But if you're changing a million things, and I always tell my clients, if you're getting really gassy and you're having problems and causing inflammation, you're not absorbing your food and your nutrients efficiently, are we doing good? No, we want you to absorb your food efficiently. We need to keep the variables very similar, and we'll change small things over time. That way we can figure out, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. and then you can make changes over time. Also, one reason I started keto, I was like, I get to eat fat and eat all these bad foods besides these bodybuilding carbs. Like, I'll be honest, I love oatmeal and sweet potatoes, but I got sick of them and I was like, I cannot eat this way, I'm going nuts. So the first day I started keto, I went and had salami and bacon. I was like, this is awesome. And obviously the evolution of what I choose now, macadamia nuts, avocados, more monounsaturated fats, things I personally do better with, I had to learn over time. But the biggest thing is start something and then you make adjustments. Just like if you start a business, you don't have to have everything figured out. You start it, you make modifications as you go, you change your pricing, you find out who your clients are, who you can help the most, you find out all those. But just getting started, taking action, I think is the biggest thing. Because being afraid to make mistakes, hey, when you make mistakes, you learn. Failure is the best teacher. And when you can accept that fact, and instead of you being a failure and looking at it as just an action, I failed at that didn't work for me, now you can find so many solutions that are going to work for you. So I think just starting is going to really help.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
So, how many of you do your workouts fasted, and then after your workout, how many of you eat immediately and wait until afterwards?
I work out at 4 o'clock in the morning, so I'm always fasted. But I don't prioritize eating right after because ketones are muscle sparing, so I don't really worry about that. I've been keto for almost 3 years. So I eat when I'm hungry. And if I'm intentionally fasting, like for longer periods of time, then like I'll, fast for longer. But when I get hungry, I'll eat. I don't really focus on timing protein and all of that stuff around a certain time. That's just me though.
So when I'm training jiu-jitsu and lifting in the morning, that's when I'll probably I start with jiu-jitsu because it's at 8 now, so I'm having to push back my lift. I'll start with jiu-jitsu at 8. I will be fasted. I probably have some coffee with some adaptogens, some alpha GPC, some more L-theanine because I love my L-theanine. And then after that, I'll take super starch before my workout. If I'm just lifting, a lot of the time, since I'm also in the morning, I'm gonna be fasted too. And I try to eat within like 4 hours of ending my workout, and it ends up that I most of the time do eat at that point, but some days I don't. And some days like I'll train at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. and I won't eat until 3 or 4 p.m. It's not something I recommend, especially if you're trying to put on muscle, but I'm not dying and I'm not shrinking or anything, so.
I train at 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then I do have a whey protein shake, barring gluconeogenesis. I've actually just, it's worked out well for me. I started recovering better when I added that in, because typically I obviously fasted first thing in the morning, but I was fasting until lunch. And I just found when I added that post-workout shake, like I used to do, like before keto, it actually helped me a lot in terms of recovery. So I started doing that and then eating at lunch and dinner, like in the intermittent fasting window. And there's data by Dr. Sachin Panda that shows that for circadian rhythm, it's best to eat during the daylight window, which mimics what we should be doing, what we've been evolved to do, that we wouldn't be eating at 10 o'clock at night or 4 in the morning or, like that. Like that we should eat when it's light out. So I try and do that.
So for me, I have different periods in my kind of like yearly routine. You guys know this around January is when I do my series called the Keto Cut. And the difference between the Keto Cut and what I'm doing now is I'll train in the morning, fasted normally. And then I try to go as long as I can without eating. Again, like how Danny said, probably like 1, 2 o'clock. Again, not really too focused on getting protein in, building muscle, just really trying to just drop down as much as I can. Where I'm at now, obviously I work out about 5 I work out later in the day, so I don't go working fasted. I try to get my meals in. First thing in the morning, try to get as much food in as I can, and then after the workout, yes, I definitely do try to eat. Now, not all the time. I'm not always hungry. I know for me, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but after a really intense workout, I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I want to do is eat. it just was a great workout. I'm not one of those guys like, oh my God, great workout, I'm starving. Like, no, that's the last thing I want to do. But again, I'm really, really focused on building muscle, getting as much protein in as possible, as much as my body requires, getting that protein synthesis and trying to eat a good meal after a workout. So again, it's not always like that. Things change throughout the year, whatever my goals are, whatever I'm trying to accomplish at that time. So yeah.
In the past, I was like a rule for me to train fasted. Now I prefer to train fasted, but I'm really more focused on just building strength right now. So I don't really care if I train fasted. Sometimes I don't. What I usually do is after training, I'll have that delicious protein shake of like a bunch of eggs, and there's the whey protein, collagen, salt, things like that. So I'll usually have that after I train. It's really easy to down. It doesn't even like really feel like a meal. So to me, that's one of the ways that I'm trying to like optimize that protein synthesis post-workout. But when I'm like really focused on fat loss, it's like training fasted, waiting as long as I can. I'm not worried about a post-workout window, as long as I eat. So that's kind of what I'm doing currently.
For me, it really depends on what I'm trying to do at that time, like Goody was talking about. Sometimes I do fast cardio in the morning, and it really depends. Some days I have 6 to 8 hours of clients. Some days I have clients from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., and then I have a break, and then I get to train then. And then sometimes I'll have clients from 2 to 10 p.m., and the next day I have to wake up at 5 in the morning. So as a trainer, your schedule is kind of crazy sometimes. So I just make sure I get it in and I can feel good laying my head down at night. We all have certain things that work for us. But if I'm trying to lift heavy and put on a lot of muscle, which I haven't done in a long time, then I prefer having 3 or 4 meals. But again, if my schedule doesn't allow that, then I'm still going to get it in and just do my best. It's so easy to sit down. I'm really analytical. To sit down and hyper-analyze everything, like I said, sometimes you just got to do it, and your body's going to adjust over time.
So I typically eat lunch an hour prior to working out or going to the gym. I typically keep my lunches to carnivore, so very high protein. And then right before I go into the gym, typically 30 minutes prior, I'll do alpha GPC with some red mints, and then I always drink exogenous ketones in conjunction with that. Up until a month ago, I was fasting up until I ate lunch, but I'm kind of like many of these guys, we're kind of all in different phases, so I just switched that up, and I'm actually eating more now throughout the day, and it all kind of works in conjunction with my training.
So as far as fasting or not prior to workout, I don't like to have any GI distress prior to training. I mean, there's nothing worse than doing deep squats and having some issues. So I prefer, I train first thing in the morning, so I don't like to eat before, I don't like to eat before I train. As far as post-workout nutrition goes, to your point, it kind of depends what my goal is. If I'm in a cutting phase and I'm only consuming X amount of calories in the first place, so it kind of depends on what phase you're in.
As far as myself, I'm up at the gym training my clients at 5:30 in the morning. So I'm totally fasting. I'm just drinking black coffee all the way through. And then I usually do my workout about 9 o'clock, sometimes 10 o'clock in the morning. That's when I get my opportunity to work out. I still keep it fasted. I love fasting because great studies on raising the human growth hormone by fasting. That's the reason why I do it. Crazy PRs this year with just including fasting. I started doing it in November, and it's insane what it does for you. Also, the question about eating right after, there's lots of studies in the exercise journal and all that about protein synthesis. The old school of you gotta get your protein in the first 15 minutes after your workout. Actually, you got a good 2-hour window there where you got better synthesis in the protein, your body absorbs it a lot better. So you don't have to rush out and get the protein shake or whatever it is immediately. Yeah.
So other than those on the panel, which thank you all very much for sharing your knowledge, who do you recommend for those getting started to go for information? Because we know that you're all great resources, we appreciate that. But who do you recommend that's not here that someone could start to follow?
Specifically for keto or just?
Keto and for personal development and personal workouts.
Right, well, I'll tackle the personal development one. I would go with, you have an Audible account, you listen to audiobooks? So I listen to this book called The Obstacle is the Way every time I go through a contest prep. It's all about stoicism. It's about Ryan Holiday. If you have that in your wheelhouse, then anything else becomes so much more trivial and you can just tackle it as it comes. But if you've got the right mindset, the rest is easy.
Podcast too. I like What the Fat by Ryan Lowry, but he focuses a lot on mindset, gratitude, and I think, that is a foundation for any journey. Like you can't, without those, there's no point in starting any type of nutritional journey. So I think he's a good example of that, along with obviously many of these up here, but that would be my recommendation.
For me, I'll just talk about I start my day. There's 3 things I write down on a note card. I write A, things that have to get done, B, things that have to get done this week, and C, if I can get to them. There's 3 things I put, whether you believe in the universe or God or whatever it is. I write a chapter in the Bible, it takes 5 minutes. Then I listen to a motivational video, usually when I work out, because I'm huge on mindset, because I think your scope dictates your reality. And then the last thing is I read a chapter of a good book a day, whatever that is. A lot of times when I listen to motivational videos, something will catch my eye, or I'll be like, this person's similar to me, and that really resonates with me. And then I really focus on reading that material at that time in my life. Because you can read the same book twice, and it may have a different meaning one day than another. So.
With the mindset side of things. So what I like to do there is every morning I'll just read 10 pages of whatever I'm reading at the time. And I always like to be reading something personal development. Sometimes like health books will creep in there. Well, I like to read a lot of personal development though. So I'm always reading like 10 pages of that. Right now I'm reading a book called Grit. Excellent book. And besides that, then whenever I go on my runs, I like to listen to Jim Rohn, who is this great speaker from the 80s. He's like the old school Tony Robbins, so I love to listen to his stuff. He's super, super simple, which is what I appreciate about it. Appeals to my intellect. Yes, set the sail. He just talks about really, really simple things, so it's good to kind of remind myself of that sometimes. And in terms of somebody in the health space, one of the guys that like really made things easy for me was Dr. Ted Naiman, and he makes these awesome infographics on Twitter. So just looking at those, like that flipped things for me big time, and that was kind of the thing that started me down the path that I'm on currently. So I think he's got awesome work.
Sweet. My answer is gonna be super cheesy, but it's real. It just is what it is. My biggest motivation I go to is The Rock. I don't care, night and day, a freaking rock, baby. I want to be the keto rock. I want people think of me, they're like, dude, that's the freaking Dwayne Johnson of keto right there. I don't care, man. That starts my day. The Rock, dude. I get pumped up right now talking about him, dude. I freaking love him, dude. Anyways, he gets me going. In the gym, I need a motivation speech. I just look on YouTube and look for something with The Rock and just hear him. I don't know. I love his story. I just love everything about him. He's just. I don't know, man. He's The Rock, dude. I'm gonna be the keto rock. You know what I mean? It gets me hyped. I don't know. I'm jacked up right now. Let's go.
I feel like saying, can you smell what Goody meats is? That's awesome.
Slam someone on stage right now.
I agree with Robert on, we've talked about it on a few shows I've done with him on The Obstacle is the Way, Ryan Holiday. Tim Ferriss is a big proponent of Stoicism. I like that show a lot. And I love the 4 Agreements for me, really changed my life. And I go back and listen to it or read it all the time. The don't take anything personal was a massive mental shift for me, that people are projecting out on you. And that's what a lot of this negativity online comes from, is just people are projecting out their insecurities and their pain. Hurt people. And as soon as you identify that and move back from that, your life will shift and you'll have way more happiness. So that's been important for me. I'm nerdy. These guys are way more muscular than me, but I'm more the nerdy type. So I like Dr. Rhonda Patrick and Dr. Peter Attia, Dr. Dom D'Agostino. Those are all my kind of heroes, and they've all been on like Tim Ferriss and Joe Rogan a bunch, but I encourage you guys to listen to them. They're really golden-hearted people with brilliant brains, so I would recommend them.
As far as keto goes, every single person up here has been an inspiration to me along my journey. I don't think that I would be where I am had I not started following Danny, and Robert in particular was the first person that I found. So definitely follow everybody and take what you can from them. But when it comes to like all of the things that I talked about today, when it comes to body dysmorphia, healing, and all of that, I think it's important to know yourself and learn a lot about yourself. So I'm big on like personality tests, the Enneagram, if you've not taken that, all of that. So Suzanne Stable, she actually wrote a book and she has a podcast that discusses all different types of personalities and what number you are and how your number can interact with other people, and how it's just really cool. I've learned how to handle my husband and his reactions a lot better, and I've learned how to respond a lot better. So I think that is kind of the foundation, is like understanding you at your core, and then that's how you respond to other people and interpret how they are coming on to you. So I'm big into personal development, and that is kind of my thing.
I agree. I feel the same way. Okay. And I feel the same way about the Enneagram too, because if you can't empathize, which I have a mutation, a genetic mutation that I lack empathy. That's a thing in my house. So if you understand the person, and especially even if it's broken down into like whatever it is, how many, 10 or 7? 10? Yeah. You're 9, right?
9, yeah.
So you're able to see like how that person is described, and you can start to at least in an abstract way start to learn like what that person might feel like when you talk a certain way or you do a certain thing. I have to say, for my 2 people for keto, I got to give a huge shout out to Ali Miller and to Mike Mutzel. You guys got to be following both of them. Like, they're putting out so much good content. Ali's doing lots of stuff that's applicable to your life, practical. Mike's doing the same thing, but Mike's also sharing all the research that most of us are too lazy to comb through, and he's making them into awesome graphics. And he's also, one of our champions when it comes to fighting against calories in versus calories out. And he can do it as an adult, which I can't say for myself. And then as far as like the other stuff, man, there's too many. I won't even get into the book stuff, but I will say 3 people, if you want to follow them just on Instagram alone, or on social media, I would say they're all kind of a little bit different. But the holistic psychologist, if you guys know of her, she's amazing. Just look at her graphics, you'll start to think of things differently. And then this one's kind of a little bit different, Jocko. Anything that Jocko Willink does to me is awesome. And then the last one, not so much someone because he passed away, but he's huge for me, is Wayne Dyer. You guys should check out Wayne Dyer. Check out his free meditations online, guided meditations. That's it.
I did have one, sorry. As a female, I can relate to a lot of females when it comes to body dysmorphia and eating disorders, but there's one person in the space that I feel like speaks out a lot about that, and it's Jonathan right here. Stand up, Jonathan. This is Jonathan, also known as the Keto Road on Instagram. And if you are male and you struggle with body image and body eating disorders and all of that, he's a great source for the male perspective.
And another one for myself, as far as in the keto spectrum, I know that this guy has a big team behind him, and so they really dive into a lot of research, and he's somebody that I can go to my clients and other people and say, hey, just watch this video real quick. So that's Thomas DeLauer and the information that he puts out there. So I definitely would say he's one really good influence of somebody that you should follow as well. As far as the book goes, I'm the biggest Michael Jordan fan you guys will ever meet. And I read his trainer's book, Tim Grover. It's called Relentless. And it's totally a mindset book. That's what I'm all about. That's what this I Want It is. It's all about mindset, what my talk is, everything. And speaking of like Ali Miller, October 26th, it's just reminded me, and that's what that banner is back there. Sean and myself are going to be speaking at an event over at the Aloft here in Dallas with Ali Miller herself. So if you guys are interested in that, you can contact me, and
we can get you set up there.
But let me add, Susie Batiz is a friend of mine, the CEO of Poopery. I don't know if you guys saw like that 40-foot poo emoji that was out over the highway the other day. That's her. She has a massive company. She's about to sell for $1 billion. And she is one of the most successful women you could ever find. And she does it with keto, paleo, plant medicine, very open-minded, very different approach. She's been through abuse, all like drug abuse, like physical abuse. Her story is intense. Like it's left people in tears, and what she's been through is incredible. And she's worked with Allie Miller. She's a good friend of mine, and that's gonna be a great event. I'm pretty excited about it. So yeah, hopefully you guys can come out to that. And I have a completely different talk. I'll be getting into like my autoimmune journey and mitochondrial health and all this cool stuff. So yeah.
Well, I think we got time for just one more question, and then it's time for the awards. So if anybody's got one more. Where? Okay, right there.
Talking about sustainability, I was thinking of, I lean more into carnivore type, but I was thinking maybe keto on the weekends so I can eat fat bombs. But I was just wondering if you have anything to share about, post-competition, reverse dieting, and if, staying carnivore is ideal to gain muscle, and with some keto days on the side. It's just an input on that since this is super new for me. I've just been keto since May, but I've been getting super great results, so just some knowledge into it.
So just to give you a little perspective, when I did my first competition, 24 to 48 hours after the show, I put on 20 pounds, and that was not good. So I had a massive negative rebound, which is incredibly common actually, especially in the traditional realms where people are taking in a bunch of carbs, they're manipulating their water and their electrolytes quite a bit. So that's one huge benefit of doing a ketogenic contest prep. You're not going to be straying so far from what's natural for your body, so you're not going to have that crazy rebound. But there's a couple things you could do to minimize that, and one is to, enjoy tonight. Go have meat, go enjoy a little bit overindulgence of food, but keep it keto. Like if you've been keto this whole prep and you go crash a bunch of carbs, you're gonna feel terrible, and that's not good because you're on a high right now. You don't want to have that crash because you feel terrible. So eat a bunch of food, eat a bunch of meat. Like we're all going and eating a bunch of meat tonight, and it's gonna be great, but we're not gonna feel guilty about it because it's good quality food. Don't eat a bunch of fat bombs and go off the deep end. But then as far as like making it more sustainable going forward, you gradually titrated your calories down over the course of this prep. So reverse that and gradually titrate calories up. You can be a little bit more aggressive with that increase, more so than you were with the decrease. But if you're getting it from quality, wholesome foods like meat, your body's going to give you a more correct, accurate signal to when it's truly full versus not. If you're eating a whole bunch of sweeteners, you're going to be able to, hyperpalatability of those are going to be able to eat a lot more than your body needs, and your hunger signals are going to be skewed. So eat quality, carnivorous style if you want, a little bit of fat bombs on the weekend, but keep it in check and don't go out of control.
Hey, I'm just going to say I'm going through that right now.
Yeah, he just got. I was there last Saturday. I got to see him win. So
literally on Tuesday, I messaged him and I was like, I weigh 27 more pounds right now, and I don't know if I want to go up there. He's like, it'll be fine. It's okay. Everybody knows you're off season, so don't do what I do. So I'm always keto, but I'm not gonna lie. Like I felt terrible Saturday, so I ate like 3 donuts, and then I felt really nauseous for 2 days. Now I'm starting to get back to normal. So, but I have a plan, and one thing I'll say, if you mess up, don't say, oh, I messed up the whole week. Just get back on your next meal, get back on the horse, and ride it out. You've done so much damage, you can only control what you can control moving forward. So now, I'm back on, I've only eaten keto the past few days. I'm starting to feel better. I'll drop the water that I've gained. So don't beat yourself up, focus on what you can control, and then move forward. I think that's the biggest thing. And have a plan, just like you said.
Yeah.
So I've never competed, and so I can't really talk about what to do after a competition, but what I can talk about is making it sustainable and making it a lifestyle now. When I first did keto, I was very strict on myself. Very strict. Remember, I had a goal in mind, want to lose body fat, I need to lose weight. So I was very hard on myself if I ever had a cheat day. I would like almost punish myself, which is not a very healthy relationship to have. The next day, fasted cardio. Oh, Logan, you're gonna work for 2 hours now. You're gonna do sprints. You're gonna do all this stuff. Just punishing myself because of the cheat day, right? And like I said, not a good, healthy relationship to have. To make it sustainable now, I don't let a bad day or a bad weekend affect my mindset. Why? Because I know I'm in this for life. There is no end date for me. Like, I understand where the competition, you have a certain amount of weeks to get to, and it's very strict. I get that. For me, I'm like, hey, this is the way I'm going to eat for the rest of my life. So I'm in Dallas. Damn it, I'm going to the Texas Fair. I'm going to eat whatever I want because I've never been to the Texas Fair, and it only happens once a year. And it's all good because, again, I'm in this for life. And when I get back home to San Marcos on Monday, Tuesday, where that may be, I'm back on keto. I'm back on my normal routine. I'm back on my sleeping habits. I'm back on my nutrition. And that one Sunday that I went to the fair is not going to ruin everything. And that's how I've made keto and this low-carb lifestyle sustainable for me for the long haul. So I don't beat myself up anymore. My daughters are growing up, and they're going to get to the age where they're going to say, Daddy, can you go take me to get ice cream? Can you go have pancakes with me? I'm going to have pancakes with my daughters. I'm not going to miss out of this moment because I do a thing called the keto diet, right? I don't look at it as a diet anymore. I look at it as a lifestyle. I'm not going to miss these opportunities, these moments. I'm going to enjoy these little things at a time, but I'll be fine, The next day, I'm back on my normal routine. So that's one thing I try to preach a lot to people because I see a lot of it going on in the keto space. They just beat themselves up. I've seen it in forums. I've seen people write questions like, oh man, I went to a wedding and oh my God, I had such a great time and I had beer. Like, okay, where's the problem? I'm trying to find out where the issue is. It sounded like a great weekend to me. It's oh my God, what do I do? And I'm like, first thing, don't panic, because everything's gonna be okay. Just get back on track. And they think that they have to just go and do some crazy exercises and fasting and all this stuff, and you really don't, because we're in this for life. So just want to preach that the most.
I'm going to offer a different perspective only because I have suffered with eating disorders and I understand how it goes. So my husband is very much like Goody. He is a moderator. He can do that and not feel guilty. And it's not that I'll feel guilty. I am an abstainer because I know how it's going to make me feel mentally and physically. And I know that if I'm achy the next day, it's just going to, because I've eaten carbs or because of whatever, it's going to send me down a spiral and all of that. So I think just erring on the side of knowing who you are, knowing your triggers, and knowing when you need to moderate or abstain. There's always two sides. So yes, I'm 100% all for living your life, but live the healthiest lifestyle that suits you.
Yep, that's definitely good.
As far as your plan, I think it's great. You just got to be aware of what could happen with certain food choices. So like knowing what could possibly happen with sweeteners, knowing what could possibly happen when you're consuming like lots of chocolate and nut butters, like those are all high oxalate foods. So if you have an issue with oxalates, like maybe that's something you need to change your food choice. But you can have as much variety as you want as far as like within a ketogenic framework, but just be aware of what could happen when, that's why carnivore works so great, because it's not many issues that could possibly happen. And you can totally build muscle and you can totally reverse on carnivore. So yeah.
Well guys, that ends up the panel of Q&A. I can't give you guys enough thanks for coming out and doing this. It's been awesome. So thank you so much.